Yugioh Day. With us, we have Jonathan Todd Ross, the man who haunted our nightmares our entire childhood, with Marik Ishtar. We have the Master of Faster, the Sultan of Speed. We have Ted Lewis. We have the Godfather of Games himself, Wayne Grayson, And I just want to say, and we also have someone who has the perfect record from any character in any Yu-Gi-Oh series, Tea Gardner. And lastly, it is a pleasure to introduce one of my best friends who I actually met through Yu-Gi-Oh 22 years ago, and now she is currently on Yu-Gi-Oh 7s. Jen Silverman. Okay, so we're just gonna start right away. So guys, one of the things I love most about the Yu-Gi-Oh is about Yu-Gi-Oh is the community. I know you all hear this a lot, but I have truly met some of my best friends because of Yu-Gi-Oh. Is there a particular moment or memory from meeting fans within the Yu-Gi-Oh community that stands out with you? We can start with you, John.
Hi everyone. So happy to be here as the star of Dark of Dimensions.
It even knows the name of the movie.
It's really great to be here with you guys. Thank you so much for coming. It's always so, I don't want to speak for anyone here, but it's such an isolating experience recording the show, and you don't know if anyone cares. So the fact that then you're able to go somewhere and find out that people actually care is really something, and not, you never want to take it for granted. And so I don't know if there's like one specific fan moment. There are a few along the way, but like just finding out how much the show meant to people, and I know for some people who have said like, oh, and I'm sure everyone here has identical stories about like what it meant to people's childhood, or how it might have helped people through a tough time, or how the community helped them find their people, or even I bet you guys have heard this too. Like there's some people where like Yu-Gi-Oh was how they learned English, like our dub, and like I just think for something that there wasn't a lot of feedback, especially when we were first doing it. To now get that feedback, it is really rewarding.
You'd like to go next?
Ditto.
You beat me to it.
So predictable.
You can ditto after me.
So predictable. I really, I'm new to the convention scene, so I've really only been attending things for the past, not even year. And so I think what has just been really surprising is how much people want to connect with the show, still want to connect with the show, and how many stories, not one specifically, but just how just like Jonathan said, just the meaning and the deep connection, how it helped them during a time in their childhood when maybe they were struggling with mental illness, or maybe were struggling with friendships, and how the show really was a centering thing for them. And I had no idea, because this was a thing we did many years ago, and we didn't know what we were making, and we didn't understand the power that it had. And I love it so much, and I love seeing the joy and excitement that people have when they come up to a table and they want to share their story. And these conventions are just a celebration of a shared love, and I think that's been the most amazing thing to see as a sort of newbie.
I think we all would say that generally hearing personal stories is amazing, and respect to the people that have told me stories. I've heard some very, very dark tales from people. And we were mentioning earlier at lunch that when we did this show, we were by ourselves, and we got the script, and we had a monitor, did our lines, walked away. Didn't really think anything was gonna happen. We were so young back then, we had no idea. And then years later, we find out, yeah, it really made an impact on people. And on many levels too, like learning English, dealing with a horrible home life or something going with just their lives and just being bullied or whatever. And personally, I know from voicing Joey, I really didn't think that he was going to have any impact either because he was a sidekick. And all due respect to everyone who likes the character, he's sort of a buffoon. But he has a heart. And a lot of what he does, whether it's inherent in the anime itself or what I brought to it or what the team brought to it, a lot of the values that he espouses are things I teach my kids. Like always be a good friend, never give up. These are really positive things that you would not have thought dubbing an anime 20 years ago would still resonate now. And to be a part of that's it's great. And you can travel the world and hear from places like Australia, Manchester, England, and the stories, it's universal. Everyone has a personal connection to the show that comes to these conventions or these appearances. And the impact of that makes us feel like we've done something more than just create a show. Ted? What he said, thank you. No, it's very true. I'm basically going to echo what these folks to my left have said already. That when you're in the booth and you're doing this job that you're grateful to have, and it's this little show, and you're not sure if it's going to be successful or not, or if anyone's going to watch, and then you realize that it's successful not long after you start the show, but then 20, 25 years later, you realize how much of an impact it's had. It's really lovely. And I've been doing conventions now for about 2 years or so. And it's just afforded me an opportunity to meet so many people who love the show and love the characters and were really influenced by them. And there was one fan in particular that I remember having a conversation with. And he was telling me that he had been young and was having a really, really rough time, and he was struggling with depression and very deep depression, and he had some really, really dark thoughts. And he was watching the show, and he said, would Yugioh and Bakura and Joey and all those, would they have done this, or would they have, kept going and what have you? And he said, I just remember I loved the show so much, and I just remember saying, no, they keep going, and they'd reach out. And so it's really incredible to hear these stories about how much it inspired people. And as apparently it has. So it's really lovely. And we're always happy to meet you guys.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, so being on the opposite side, because I'm one of the newest generations, I was in this generation of them being my childhood. So to look up to all of these guys and then just be sitting with you is just a childhood dream come true, and just like being inspired by all of you guys and having a standee of Joey Wheeler in my studio. Yeah, it's.
You're welcome.
But yeah, no, it's just been amazing, and if I could do it, any of you guys could do it, and just persevere your dreams, like what Dan says. Believe in yourself, you'll always prevail, and that has stuck with me through my whole journey, and even back then. So, yeah.
Okay, so the next question is So the next question is for Amy. Tea Gardner is such an impressive performance. You were able to make the character memorable in a series that, in its inception, heavily catered to young boys and had a largely male cast. Did you take any of this into account when crafting the performance? What was your process?
Well, I'll say first that the character of Taya was not a huge stretch for me personally, because I think that we're pretty similar, just in she leads with her heart, she prioritizes friendship, she, has a lot of male friends, I don't know that I carried responsibility, but I think the performance and the character herself was not difficult because I understood immediately the role she served in the group. And I think I said this on another panel once, but she has a sass and a sarcasm that I also have. And so I think when I was reflecting on all these other characters I've played in the past, they all have some sort of little bit of sass and character and sarcasm. I was like, I think I'm being typecast. I didn't really know, but you know, I think now especially Taya has this wonderful role of just always trying to encourage and bring out the best in her friends and support them, and I think I do the same. So I don't think I did anything special to prepare for the character other than just be myself.
Next question for Wayne. You are campaigning online to voice the character of Michelangelo again in one of the TMNT The Last Ronin projects that's currently in the works. And I think we all personally want to see you in that. Beyond the fact that the story is amazing, what made you want to campaign to return to this role?
The story is amazing, and I loved playing that role. Like Mikey was a great role for me. Joey and Mikey. When people ask what my favorite roles are, it's always a dead heat between Joey and Mikey. And when I was growing up as a comic fan, I got like the first press of I think it was the 4th issue of Turtles, and I immediately gravitated towards Michelangelo before the cowabunga business and the pizza, like just a black and white comic book. I saw that and I was like, wow, he has nunchucks, he got the same kind of like carefree attitude I had at the time. So just to keep going with that character and just evolve with him is really important to me. Like my son will watch on his TV, on his tablet or whatever, he'll watch like, there'll be the trailers for the new Turtle stuff, and he'll get my attention and make fun of me, because it's not me. It should be you. I'm like, I know it should be me. I would love that. It is a great story. If you haven't read Last Ronin, give it a shot. It's very good. And I've met some of the artists on that book too, like Ben Bishop and Laddie, these guys. They're really good guys. So yeah, I mean, other than also being a job and there'd be money for me, just the evolution of the character. I would love to keep going. This is a Yu-Gi-Oh panel, though. Come on.
Hard-hitting questions. Next question is for Ted. Ted, you played 2 of the most iconic characters in all of Yu-Gi-Oh! Bakura and Jack Atlas. Yeah. You also played one of the most iconic villains in Pokemon.
Giovanni.
Again, Yu-Gi-Oh panel.
Yes. What do you find gives you more enjoyment? Playing a villain like Giovanni, a hero or rival like Jack Atlas, or a character that's a little bit all over the place like Bakura?
I think I really enjoy. I will say I really enjoy playing darker characters because it's not. As far as I know, it's not like me in real life. I'm a fairly easygoing person, and so it's always fun to kind of explore these characters that are dark and kind of a little bit farther than who I am. So that's always great. But I also am fascinated with Bakura. You know, when I first started doing Bakura, it was just Bakura, nice Bakura, and I had no idea that there was a darker, side to him that would emerge, and then when that happened, it was even more fun. So it's great to kind of, I love playing more dark, kind of evil characters that aren't like I am in real life, but it's also fun to kind of play these dualistic kind of things. So I like both of them. Yeah.
Todd, we have met a few times now and spoken, and personally, I feel like the voice of Marik comes to you so naturally. But I've also watched one of your interviews where you said you had gotten cast as Marik, and then you had lost the role,
Yes.
and then you came back and you kept tweaking the voice just a little bit more every time. How different was the voice of Marik from when you started to where you landed?
It wasn't. The way it started off. The initial take on the role, it was a little more like this, and a little like sly and soft. And they're like, great, we love it. And then they came back and they said, it was a little too close to Pegasus, you're fired. And then because I'm sure it wasn't, New York's a very
That sounds about right.
right, and like New York's a small town, and like so I was in a show with Erica Schroeder and another actor who then got the role, and so that was awkward moment number one because he was excited.
It was awkward
And
for
I
me
was
too,
very
so,
sad.
yeah.
It was very sad. Erica didn't know what to do. And then like a week later, it came back my way, and it continued to be very awkward in the green room. And then they brought me back in, and they was like, "Okay, well, you're hired again." And man, it's a very uncomfortable way. Like you go back in there, and you're like, "Oh man, I could lose this job at any moment." And they explained that like they liked some qualities of it. They didn't want it quite so like this is a musical. And so they like little by little it was like, well, now let's add a little nasal quality to it. And then it was like, now let's add a little gravel to it. And then it was like, now let's give it a little more energy. And so like and we would record the episode and they would send it off and they would be like closer. And I'd be like, oh, I'm not fired. So I'd go do the show that night, and then the other actor would be like, how did it go? And I'd be like, he's fine. He does just fine. Voiceovers, but he does fine. And eventually when we landed on, the final record, we did the episode, and then I got to go record the episode after that. And then I was like, oh, I'm safe. Yeah, but it really was, I didn't realize Marik was going to be a big role, and so that was sort of how I found out that I was going to be around for a while. Because that first episode, it's in the shadows, and it's like 20 lines. But the level of commitment to like getting it right from the outset to let me know that I was going to stick around a while. And they decided on the most painful voice possibly do for years of my life.
And finally, Jen. Hi, buddy. So, I'm going to start this off by saying Jen is the hardest person to make questions for because I've known you for so long, and we literally tell each other everything. But I guess if there's one thing I could ask you is, Jen is an actual duelist. We still do play the game. So, a lot of voice actors actually say that even though they voiced Yu-Gi-Oh characters for so long, they don't know how to play the game. Do you actually think that being a duelist first gave you more of an edge or made it easier to prepare for your role and just read out your lines?
That's the worst question I have. No, that's actually a really good question. I think it's a mix of both because being brought up with my childhood, like I said before, where these guys, Mai was my favorite character. I have harpies since I was like 17 years old, so I guess knowing the style and when we were kids in the schoolyard, I know that's a different video, but we would act out the show. We'd be like, I summoned this in attack mode and haha, all that stuff. And when I took classes with Darren, it came naturally. So I guess in a way it did, but because Rush Duel is something new, I still had to relearn some things. So it's kind of a mix of both, but a lot of fun. So yeah.
So I will say, unfortunately, I do have to cut this panel a little bit short, only because I would like to give everyone the chance to get an autograph. So I asked this question of Dan and Marik prior, but I said I have to ask if you could play any role in any movie, animated or live action, no holds barred, who would it be? For me personally, if it was rebooted, which I hope it never is, I personally would play G. Brody from Jaws.
So to those who know me, probably would think it would be Mai, but it would actually be Sailor Moon. Because Sailor Moon is what got me into anime and all of this. So, and she's me, literally like crybaby, foodie, junkie, late to everything. But she has a good heart, she fights for what's right, and I believe in that. So.
got your own microphone. That's okay.
Oh, yeah.
You stole mine. I'll let you have it. I think mine will be a live action character, and it's an older film, but I think lots of people know it because it's very well known. But I would probably be I'd probably choose George Bailey from It's a Wonderful Life. It's just a character that I very much relate to, and I cry like a baby every time I watch the film. Wah.
Major child. Just like that.
So yes, that's probably the one that I would choose. Yeah, we're going live action. Gee, really, this movie's not as old. Blade Runner.
Oh, yeah.
I would love to play either Joker or Roy Batty. They both have amazing arcs in that movie. It's such a great visual movie. One of my favorites, and one of those movies that got shortchanged when it came out. It became appreciated later, like John Carpenter's The Thing, things of that nature. Yeah, totally, Blade Runner.
I'd be the Little Mermaid.
Live action?
No, I would be the animated. I would sing my heart out. I'm so happy to get to sing in an animated thing. I watched it my whole life. I grew up on all of the Disney films, so.
Disney Booker right now.
So, you know, I have kids, and man, they do not care about Yugioh. So you know, so we tried, and like the little one's like really eager to please, and she's like, "I'll watch it." And then she's after like 10 minutes, she's like, "Mommy, I would like to watch something Ever After High." And it's like, okay.
What's happening with that baby shark?
I know, right. So you know, and I'm lucky enough to be on, some Pokemon over the years. Well, they did get into Pokemon, but just because it would make my kids happy. The algorithm led them to some anime that seems like one day they'll be like, does that show even exist? Like, this is like a 1-season anime called Haunted House that for like 6 months they were obsessed with, watched every episode a million times. And I would just want to be a part of that, just to see them, the look on their face as they go, "Dad, can we watch something else?"
My kids love to play Blade Runner. They love it. My kids, I don't have any kids. Sorry.
Right, you do have that. Well, guys, thank you so much for being here. I am going to cap the panel here right now so that we can actually get the meet and greet started. So I would like everyone to please vacate the room so we can set up for that. Thanks, guys. Thank you, guys.